Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through all of the 1,775 poems of Emily Dickinson contained within the Johnson edition. We turn now to poem 31, Summer for Thee Grant I May Be. And this is an interesting poem. When it was originally published, it's actually published under the title of song, and it does have a certain kind of rhythm that will be perceived by some readers as being maybe less than serious. I do enjoy this little poem, though. It's going to be another, what are we going to call it? A tribute poem, possibly a love poem, maybe for Elizabeth Holland, who she often referred to as Little Sister. Some scholars have even gone so far as to say of Holland that she was the true spiritual sister to Emily. Leiter has that to say. Now, our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at LearnStrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist, and that you've been exposed to our intro lecture, and then we just finished with poem 30, Little Boat Adrift. Now, the great biographer of Emily Dickinson, George Frisbee Wisher, has some interesting things to say about the relationship between Emily and Mrs. Holland. There is a letter that was written in the summer of 1856. This is Emily, quote, "If God had been here this summer and seen the things I've seen, I guess that he would think his paradise superfluous. Don't tell him for the world, though. Dear Miss Holland, I love, tonight, love you and Dr. Holland, and time and sense and fading things and things that do not fade." End quote. And then Wisher continues, "We may call the group, using one of her preferred symbols, Images of Eden, that seem to be tribute poems for Holland. The testimonials," now to continue with Wisher, "the testimonials of her devotion vary in poetic competence from the youthful jingle of Summer for Thee Grant I May," the poem that we're about, that I may be, the poem that we're about to study, to the fully mature One and One Are One, poem number 769. And then among the most characteristic are those that express her longing for a sight of her, quote, bright absentee, end quote, to the relaxed and expansive mood of, quote, I come to buy a smile today, poem number 223. I tend flowers for thee as well, and what would I give to see this face, poem number 247. But she was also able to achieve the powerful lyric condensation of Wild Nights, poem number 249. Which comes as close to innocently erotic imagery as she was ever to go. I find it interesting that this little poem, he will call it a jingo, again, published originally with the title in 1896 of Song. Let's just enjoy the poem. Summer for thee, grant I may be, when summer days are flown. Thy music still when whippoorwill and oriole are done. For thee to bloom, I'll skip the tune, and row my blossomings o'er. Pray gather me, anemone, thy flower, forevermore. And again, notice the exclamation point at the end of a number of these poems in the 30s. First of all, notice that we are back to using seasons again, right? Emily loves this. Summer for thee, grant I may be. I hope that I can be your summer when summer days are flown. In other words, even after summer, I hope that I can still be a summer to you. Notice the repetition of thy and thee to play. Thy music, maybe we're speaking with Elizabeth Holland here. Thy music still, I love her use of the word still, right? As in continuance as well as in terms of motion cessation. Thy music still when whippoorwill and oriole are done. We're back to Emily and her birds. When we are at poem 161, we're going to enjoy that one with whippoorwill. A feather from the whippoorwill that everlasting sings, whose galleries are sunrise, whose opera the springs, whose emerald nest the ages spin of mellow murmuring thread. And the oriole is going to be used in poem 526. When we get that one, to hear an oriole sing may be a common thing, or only a divine. Is it not of the bird who sings the same unheard, as unto crowd the fashion of the ear, attireth that it hear in dun or fair? Anemone, we're going to see in poem 63, that beautiful pink poem, or flower. Can the anemones be reckoned up? And when we get there, we'll come back to this. So what is that she's saying? Summer for thee grant I may be when summer days are flown. I hope that I can be a summer after summer is over. Thy music still when whippoorwill and oriole are done. I hope that I can be music to you even after the birds stop singing. For thee to bloom, I'll skip the tomb. Notice bloom, tomb, and row my blossoms o'er. By the way, there was one poem where row was sow, but Johnson will publish it as row. And row my blossoms o'er. In other words, I'm willing to allow the garden to be turned over so that my blossoms can go. Pray, gather me, anemone, thy flower forevermore. I hope that I can be the anemone to you. In other words, what is it that Emily is saying to possibly Elizabeth Holland? I hope that I can be the garden that springs even beyond summer. I hope that I can continue to give you what you need. It is interesting that we have 94 letters that were to the Hollands, which survive. And in these letters, it's clear the closeness between Elizabeth and Emily. Well, what are we going to do with a poem like this at 2A? Well, I think her argument is that true friendship, true love, is going to last even long after death. And I think our reading of this poem can prove that. I love Emily and her birds. She's always referencing birds and, of course, flowers, no question. They go back and forth. At 3A, think about Tennyson's In Memoriam of 1850 and Milton's Lycidas of 1637. These tribute poems, these poems sit in this same kind of place where a certain kind of tribute is being shown, and of course celebration with birds and flowers. What is it that Tennyson says in Memoriam? "'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." You'll remember that he says. We've given lectures at learnstrong.net on Tennyson's Memoriam. And finally at 3B, who in your life, and now, see, I can ask this question, this is really cool, I can ask this question, it'll make sense to you. Who in your life is your summer? And to whom in your life have you been a summer so far? And maybe, hopefully, going forward. Maybe Emily is a summer for us. I hope so. Thank you.